Hello and welcome to the 19th episode of By the Fire with the Shamana, a short transmission bringing shamanic wisdom into your life, one conversation by the fire at a time. It is intended as a form of medicine to heal, open perspectives, raise consciousness, and help you regain more freedom and power over your life. If you are curious to discover why trying to become more motivated often keeps you stuck, and how understanding what actually creates movement can transform the way you move through life, today's episode is for you. Before we begin, I want to invite you to pause for a moment. You are obviously coming from other activities, other thoughts, and right now we are opening together a sacred space for this transmission. So just take a few deep breaths, inspire through the nose and expire through the mouth. And feel the air you breathe circulating through your whole body, through each of your cells. Feel your whole body relaxing, becoming more present, more receptive, and ready to activate your listening and learning abilities. And as you arrive more fully into this space, ask yourself, what is your state in this moment? How do you feel? All feelings are valid and welcome. And if there is a comment section on the app where you are listening to this episode, I invite you to write down how you feel there so we can include it together in this sacred space. Now, when you feel ready, enter. If there is one sentence we hear over and over in the world of personal development, it is probably this one: I just need more motivation. And I have said it myself. Maybe you have said it yourself. It's the situation where there is something you would like to do. Maybe it is starting a business, building a healthier lifestyle, or quitting a habit that you have wanted to quit for a long time. You genuinely want to do it. And every time you think about it, you tell yourself, I really need to get started. And it's not that you don't see the value of doing it. You do. It is not even that somebody else wants it for you. You want it too. And yet, days pass, then weeks, and sometimes, somehow, nothing really changes. So you begin thinking, I must not be motivated enough. And if that's the conclusion, then the solution seems obvious. You need more motivation. So you listen to another podcast, you watch another inspiring video. Basically, what you're doing is you wait for the day you finally wake up, feeling ready to take action. But in reality, that day rarely comes. It might, but it's not the most common thing to happen. So I would like to invite you to look at this from a slightly different perspective. Instead of asking yourself, how do I become more motivated? What if you started asking yourself, what is actually preventing me from moving forward? And those two approaches lead you in very different directions. The first assumes motivation is missing, and the second assumes something else may be standing in your way. And in my experience, what prevents movements can be many things, but Usually it falls into one of three areas. The first is identity. What I mean is sometimes you already know what you want to do, but the person making the decision is still the version of you that got you to where you are today. So let's say you want to build a business, but you still think of yourself as an employee. You want to speak up, but you still see yourself as the quiet person in the room. So every action you take remains consistent with the identity you have today, not the identity you are trying to grow into. And that gets in the way. Another possibility in analyzing what prevents you from moving forward is clarity. You are willing to move, but you do not know where to begin. So instead of taking one small step, you keep searching for the perfect plan. You read one more book, you take one more course, hoping that eventually everything will become clear. But in life, clarity rarely appears before action. Very often it appears because of action. Now, a third possibility of what may get in your way is your available energy. You know who you want to become, you know what the next step is, but every part of your day is already asking something from you. Your work needs energy, your family needs energy, your responsibilities need energy. So the question becomes, where could I spend less energy so that I have more available for what truly matters to me? Because energy, just like time, is something you constantly allocate. So once you recognize which of these three is standing in your way, you can finally stop trying to solve the wrong problem. Instead, you begin working with what is actually asking for your attention. If it is your identity, you may begin embodying the version of yourself that reflects the person you are becoming, until your actions naturally begin reflecting that identity. If it is clarity, you could stop waiting to see the whole path and focus only on the next step. And if it is your energy, you might begin looking at where your energy is currently being spent, so that you can consciously reallocate some of it toward what matters most. From a shamanic perspective, this is how life itself moves. Life begins with an intention, then it takes a first action, life responds. Based on what happens, the next action naturally becomes clearer, because life is not rigid. It follows the flow. Look, for instance, at a river. Its intention is to reach the ocean. As long as the riverbanks guide it, the water follows them. The river does not need to become more motivated to keep moving. And when heavy rains arrive, it simply expands beyond its banks and continues moving toward the same destination. The intention never changes. The path adapts. A tree teaches us something very similar. Its intention is to continue growing. When there is a lack of water, if the weather is very dry, the tree may intentionally allow some branches to die so that it can preserve enough water and energy for the rest of the tree to survive and continue growing. It is not giving up its intention. It is reallocating its resources so that life can keep moving. And human beings can learn a great deal from that wisdom. You set an intention, you take a first action, then life gives you information. Sometimes the path opens exactly as you expected, and that's wonderful. Other times it invites you to change direction. It may ask you to slow down, or it may show you that something needs to be let go before you can continue moving forward. In other words, following the flow does not mean drifting through life. It means staying deeply committed to your intention while remaining flexible enough to adapt the way you move toward it. Now, as in every episode, I would like us to experience this transmission together. So before we begin this exercise, just a quick reminder to use your judgment and stay safe if you are driving or doing any activity that requires your full attention. I also invite you to take a mental note of how you feel right now. You simply notice your current state so that you can compare it with how you feel at the end of this exercise. Now, you can close your eyes for a few moments and bring to mind a project that truly matters to you. A project you genuinely want to bring to life, but that you still have not started, or started and stopped. While having this project in mind, take a slow breath and simply notice what happens inside your body as you think about that project. What emotions are present? Excitement, fear, curiosity. Does your body contract or expand? Stay with those feelings for a few moments and gently reopen your eyes. Now I invite you to stand up for the rest of the exercise and ask yourself this question. What is actually preventing me from taking the first action or the next action to bring this project to life? What is actually preventing me from taking the first action or the next action to bring this project to life? If what comes up is your identity, think of someone who has already become the kind of person you would like to become. It's maybe someone you know personally, a mentor, or someone you admire. Think of that person and now physically take one step forward as if you were stepping into that person's shoes. As you take that step, imagine you are becoming that expanded version of yourself. And notice how allowing yourself to become this new version of you feels. As though a whole new world of possibilities is beginning to open before you. You have taken the first action. Who you were 3 seconds ago is literally behind you. You are in the shoes of this new version of yourself. That is the aspiring version of yourself that you want to get to. You are there already. You made the move. Acknowledge how you feel and stay with this feeling as long as you need. Now, when you ask this question, what is actually preventing me from taking the first or next action to bring this project to life? If the answer to that question was more that what prevents you is clarity, chances are you are looking at the overall project and part of you is a bit overwhelmed and it feels like a mountain that is impossible to climb. So instead of looking at the entire mountain, ask yourself, what is the very first action I could realistically take? It does not have to be a big action. It only needs to be an action that starts creating movement. Even a small one, it does not matter. Once you have your answer, physically take one step forward as you imagine yourself taking that first action. Now notice where you are. You are no longer standing at the foot of the mountain. You have already started climbing it. Notice how that feels. Even if it is a small win, it is a win. You are in movement. And stay with this feeling as long as you need. And remember that when people climb Mount Everest, their first objective is to reach base camp. It is not to reach the summit right away. Now, if you feel that what prevents you from taking the first action in your project is your lack of energy, simply notice how your body feels today. Do you honestly have enough energy available for this project right now? If the answer is no, ask yourself, where could I spend a little less energy so I have more available for what truly matters to me? Just like time, your energy is a finite resource. Every day, you choose where it goes. So notice whether there is one area of your life where you could consciously reallocate some of that energy toward this project. And it does not have to be 1 hour per day. Okay. You might not have that, but everybody has 15 minutes a day to allocate to something. If the project really matters to you and if you are honest with yourself. It's not about beating you up. It's about being honest, about what we want and how to take a step ahead. Now we're going to finish this exercise with one final step. So based on what emerged during this exercise, think of one concrete action you can take for this project today or within the next 24 hours maximum. Again, it does not have to be a big action. If thinking about taking that action fills you with excitement, simply notice that feeling, acknowledge it, surf on it, And if thinking about it brings up a little anxiety, I encourage you to take that action as soon as you can. And then notice how you feel afterward. Notice how it feels to have taken the first concrete action towards something that truly matters to you. Now take a moment to notice how you feel now compared to the beginning of this exercise, and take one final slow breath. Now, as every week, I would like to leave you with a simple integration practice to continue exploring this concept during the week ahead. Each morning when you wake up, or each evening before going to bed, depending on what feels most natural for you, bring to mind the same project you reflected on during today's exercise. And ask yourself these 3 questions. Is my project being held back by my identity? Is it being held back by a lack of clarity? Or is it being held back by my available energy? Take note of your answers and notice how they evolve from one day to the next. And when you become aware of a blockage, ask yourself one question. What is one small action I can take today to begin loosening that blockage? By the end of the week, notice how your answers have evolved and how your relationship with this project may have changed. What this episode invites us to remember is that life was never designed to depend on motivation. Life is movement at its core, and movement unfolds through action and adaptation. Before we close this sacred space together, I invite you to take one final deep breath. You inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. And you simply notice how you feel compared to the beginning of the episode. You can also take a mental note about what you want to take with you from these moments by the fire today. And we can now close this sacred transmission space together. The journey continues within you. Walk gently, walk consciously, and remember, you are never walking alone. If the energy of this transmission resonated with you, I would be truly grateful if you chose to share it as you feel appropriate. Because every time this sacred space is shared, its energy continues to expand and reach the people who may need it most. You can also continue and deepen the journey with me on Substack. That is where I share Whispers from the Shamana, a weekly publication to nourish your deeper self and softly awaken the shaman within. The address is thedigitalshamana with an A at the end, .substack.com. Thank you truly for your presence here today, for taking this moment for yourself, and for stepping into this space. And I will see you by the fire again very soon.